Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to today's School Spotlight. I'm so excited to have you here today. For those of you who are joining in live, I'm going to give you a couple more seconds to log on. Today, we have a really exciting webinar for you. The School Spotlight today is actually going to be introducing you to two different high school options, which I think is really cool in Texas, so a very nice part of the United States. And for those of you who are joining us in live, please note that this webinar will be recorded. So if you have to jump out for any reason, you will be able to come back later and watch the recording. Also, if you are joining us in live, at any point, if you have any questions, either for myself or for our special guest, feel free to write those questions in the comment section, and we will try to get to as many of those as possible at the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest. Let's give a warm welcome to Marissa from Brainpower Connection High Schools. Hi, Marissa. How are you?
Hi, pretty good. How are you doing today?
Good, good. I'm excited to have you here, and I'm excited to learn more about the different options you're bringing, because you hear Brainpower Connection High Schools. Okay, what is that? What's going on here? So I know you had a video you wanted to show, or a couple of videos. So I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, thanks so much. So as you mentioned, we actually are two different high schools, and we're both located in San Antonio, Texas. So we have Incarnate Word High School, which is an all-girls Catholic high school. And then the second school is St. Anthony Catholic High School, which is a co-ed boys and girls high school. And they're actually in the same neighborhood, same part of San Antonio. So I'm going to give you just a glimpse of a short video on each school, so you can see a little bit more about what campus looks like, what student life looks like, and we can go from there. So the first video is going to be on Incarnate Word High School, which is the all-girls school. Oh, sorry. My internet's not cooperating, but okay, so that was the first one. And so I hope that gave you a little bit of a sense of the traditions on campus, the community that we have, and kind of what a day in the life looks like. And let me then just show you one more, which is our, for St. Anthony, our other high school.
Perfect. Oops.
All right. Thank you.
Those are so cool. So again, for our viewers, for you to understand the difference between the two, Incarnate Word High School is an all-girls high school, and St. Anthony Catholic High School is co-ed, which means there are boys and girls that study at that same school.
Correct. And you can kind of see, and you can kind of see from the video that we're kind of located in a historic area. So that's why we've got these big green spaces and a historic building, and it's a nice place to be.
Yeah, it looks absolutely beautiful. And I mean, I know your location is San Antonio. Are you in the downtown? Are you in the suburbs? Kind of what part of town are these schools in?
Yeah, so they're both located in the Monte Vista Historical District, which is kind of in a midtown area. So it's like about 5 miles north of downtown. So you can actually see downtown from parts of campus at Incarnate Word, but it's just a little out of walking distance, which is kind of nice. It's a little quieter, but you're still like right in the middle of the city center, and you're also really close to the airport, which is nice for our students that are coming into town.
Yeah, that's convenient. And then also, I'm assuming, based on the names of the schools, there is some sort of religious affiliation. So can you tell us about that? Do students go to chapel? Is this for Catholic students? Tell me more.
Absolutely. Good question. So yes, both schools are Catholic schools. And that's part of the reason that they kind of work together, and why I represent both is they're both part of the same network, basically. So it's an important part of our mission. However, you do not need to be Catholic to attend. We've had international students for more than 20 years attending both high schools, from all over the world, from China, from different parts of Asia, India, South America, Mexico. So we have a number of international students that are Catholic, and we love that because they kind of know exactly what's happening as soon as they drop in, but it's not required. So if you're at Incarnate Word, then you're going to have adoration and mass maybe once or twice a month, as well as a religion class. And typically for the international students, we'll put them in an ESL religion or a lower level religion class so that they can kind of learn, but without having to feel like they're deep in the weeds of both English language and a new religion potentially. And then at St. Anthony, they do have daily chapel in the morning, and that's kind of functions as like an announcement period. We have different speakers come in, and not just religious speakers, but speakers coming to talk about all sorts of things. We have alumni come and speak. I usually present about study abroad programs. So lots of stuff like that, and then mass once a week as well.
Okay, awesome. So again, for student listeners, if you're Catholic, of course, this will be something, it's nothing new. You're not going to be surprised about any of these activities you'll get involved in. And if you aren't Catholic, you can still participate in these programs and study at these schools, and, treat it as if you're not a religious person, or if you've never looked into Catholicism, you don't have to feel like this is something that's being pushed on you. I imagine it's more, you can look at it from a cultural standpoint, a historical standpoint, or with open eyes for a potential new religion. So I think that's great that there's that flexibility.
And one other thing I'd mention is that, students may not be aware of, but in the United States, it's quite common for domestic students, like U.S. students who are not Catholic, to attend these schools, just because they're really rigorous. They have a really rigorous curriculum. They're really good schools for students that really want a college preparatory environment and a challenging environment. We have lots of domestic students that aren't Catholic too. So
that's really important to point out. I think depending on what country our students come from, in each country, there's a different setup. Like here, I'm in Mexico, and here there are lots of different private schools, and, very few of them actually have a religious affiliation. Most of them, it's just based on their curriculum and their approach to the education, but nothing to do with religion. Whereas in the United States, I feel like the vast majority of private schools are religious schools. So they have some form of religious affiliation. So that's why I think it's important to point out that even though this school does have a religious affiliation, that's kind of the standard among private schools in the U.S. to have some sort of connection to a religion. And it's not necessarily because you're going to be subjected to massive amounts of religious content all the time. It's just an affiliation.
Yeah, we're in the education business, not the conversion business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very cool. So I want to talk a little bit more about San Antonio and kind of the historic district that you're located in. I've personally never been to Texas. I've been to the airport in Houston, but I've never spent any time in Texas. And I'm sure, maybe here from Mexico, there are some students who've been to Texas
Probably.
before, but some maybe who have not. So tell us what there is to do around town. Like, what can international students get involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually quite frequently, our students, particularly from northern Mexico, have been to San Antonio before. And they would tell you that we have great shopping, as well as lots of fun things to do. We're actually known as a big tourist destination in the United States because of the Riverwalk, which is a world famous attraction that we have downtown. So we have a really beautiful city. Lots of places to go eat and check out downtown. But we also have extensive parks. We're in a really beautiful natural area. So if hiking is your thing, that's absolutely something to do on the weekends, as well as having a huge greenway system here in town. We also have an NBA team. So the San Antonio Spurs are a big deal. If you follow basketball at all, we won the championship, just a couple of times. So that's a big deal for people here. And so that's definitely a big draw as well. But as well as music, we do have different music festivals here. We're also about an hour away from Austin, which is known as the live music capital of the United States. So lots of stuff to do there, as well as Six Flags, SeaWorld, lots of amusement parks and stuff like that. A lot of our students like going to the bowling alley and different arcades and stuff like that. So lots and lots to do. We are a city of about 1.5 million people. So we have all the amenities of a city. And then the last thing I would mention is that we do have a rodeo every year, which is so big that it kicks out the Spurs. So,
oh my gosh.
So we have to go on a road trip every year.
That would be a really cool experience to see a real live rodeo.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Cool. Oh, that's awesome. And what about on campus? I mean, do students, are there clubs and organizations students can get involved in, or do you help organize some outings to see different things around town? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah. So both schools have a very vibrant club scene, if you will. Both schools have about between 20 and 25 clubs each year. And it varies each year because the students are really the ones pushing the clubs forward. So sometimes things shift a little bit. We have an international club at Incarnate Word High School that's been around for a long time and historically has been run by international students. So that's a really great way to jump right in. And then we have a number of different clubs, completely all over the map. It might be about volunteering. It might be about video games. I run one club at St. Anthony that is the Academic World Quest Club, which is the global trivia competition. So we have lots of different stuff depending on what you're interested in. But we also do, and this year is a little bit different because of COVID, but normally we organize lots of different outings for the international students to kind of get to know their new city. So we'll go to the rodeo usually. We'll go to different events at our partner university. We'll go to their Lunar New Year celebration. We'll go to the Riverwalk and we'll go to the Alamo and check out all of the kind of historic attractions here in San Antonio. So we get a little bit of both. But really the flexibility of our club system and students being able to create their own clubs is what keeps it really engaging for students.
Yeah, and I always tell my students when there is that opportunity, it's really awesome, and that's something that's going to look really good on your CV, on your experience when you're applying to universities, showing that you're a leader and you have leadership skills. So don't be afraid if there's something that you're interested in and the school doesn't offer it. Start the club yourself, and you can say that you were the founder of this club for whatever it may be.
Or try something new,
Yeah, exactly. Very cool. Now about the living arrangements, do students live on campus? Do they live with host families? How does that work?
Great. Yeah. So we are a day school, which means that we do not have a boarding facility, which means that our international students do live with host families here in our community. And typically they try and find families that are pretty close to school. But either way, your host family is going to help you get to school and help you navigate around the city and all of that. And this is a really cool part of the program, actually, because it really gives you the chance to have like an immersive experience and get to learn about U.S. holidays and why things are done this way. And you kind of have a sounding board for all these questions that you have when you suddenly land in a new place. You get to practice your English all day, basically, and really learn that casual spoken English that's going to really help you when you go to university, so you can make friends and do all that stuff. So,
sure.
And you get a support system. If you're coming to the U.S. for high school, then it's nice to have a little extra support.
Yeah, you need to have a family. No matter how independent you think you may be, it's nice to have that family.
Yeah.
Like I did a few study abroad programs when I was in college, and one of them, for both of those experiences, I lived with host families. And when I was in Ecuador, at the beginning of the trip, like I just did not feel good. I was sick.
Yeah.
I didn't feel well. And my host mom, she was so sweet and, cooked me special breakfast and would leave me tea here. She was just doing all these little extra things to make sure I felt better, if I needed medicine and that kind of thing. And it's just really comforting to know that you're going to have a mom and dad or, or siblings or pets. Like, so you're just going to have someone there to make you feel, that you're at home and
Absolutely.
you can adjust. So I think that's amazing. And I think for parents, if any parents are watching this, I know some parents, they're not crazy about the idea of host families. And I think that's one thing to really think about, the fact that your child will be in someone's home, they'll be taken care of, they'll be treated as if they were a member of that family. And it's just good to have someone who can invite them to lunch or dinner, or show them around. So that's great. Very cool. Now, about the international student population on campus, do you have a lot of international students? Are they coming from the same location, different locations? What can we expect?
So obviously this year's a little bit different than things normally are. But typically we have about between 15 to 20 international students at each school. And just for reference, each school is about St. Anthony's about 300 students, and Incarnate Word is usually closer to about 400. So they're pretty small. So if you have about 15 to 20 international students, it's a noticeable presence, but it's not overwhelming. And we've had a good diversity in the places that students are from, which is nice as well. So we have students from China, Vietnam, Mexico, and then we have an exchange program with Japan. So typically we always have a couple of Japanese students on campus as well. And then, of course, we get a couple other students from other places. India, we have a student from India, we have a student from Venezuela. But yeah, Mexico, China, and Vietnam are where most of our students are from.
Okay. I remember when I was in high school, I went to a public high school in Ohio, and I don't know, back then I didn't know what the inner workings were of exchange program. I didn't know. I was just a student. But when I was, I think in my second year of high school, there were maybe 2 or 3 international students that came for an academic year in my grade. And I also went to a small school. There were, I think, maybe 200 students in each class. In the high school, there were maybe like around 600 students in the whole building. So pretty small, relatively small. And when there were only like total, maybe 5 or 6 international students at a time, those international students were like the superstars of the school. Like everybody, everybody wanted to talk to them when they first got there. They wanted to learn about where they were from. They wanted to be friends with them. So I think even though I'm from a very rural part of Ohio where everybody kind of looks the same, everybody was so excited to meet people from someplace else. And one of my best friends was an international student from Denmark during that year. So it's really cool. Like, I don't want international students to maybe feel scared of like, oh, if I'm only one of 15 or 20. No, you're going to have an amazing time because everybody's going to want to be your friend. Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah, and I would also note that, San Antonio is quite a diverse city in the U.S. I mean, you might have an idea of what an American looks like in your mind, but San Antonio is actually about 60% Hispanic, which means that most people are of Mexican ancestry in San Antonio. They may not remember, they may not know Spanish, they may not have family in Mexico, but they are not, they're not white. And I think the city is only about 20% white. So. And we have a large Asian population here. We have a large Vietnamese population. a large Filipino population. So it's actually very diverse, and there's people from all over the world here, even though this is the city that you may not have heard of. So that's sort of a funny part about us. And that's kind of an interesting part about the US also.
And that's helpful too to students. Again, like, you're just because you might be the only student coming from Ecuador that year at, Incarnate Word High School, chances are there are going to be other Spanish speakers close by. You're not gonna feel like you're an outsider, which I think is really
and cool. a lot of our staff are bilingual in Spanish as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So tell me a little bit about the academic programs. I know you have some really interesting things going on at your high school. So tell me more. I know you're focused on college prep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So both schools are college preparatory. So we do expect all of our students to go on to university. And we do have 100% college matriculation rate for that reason. College or military, I think, technically. So the St. Anthony in particular has some really both schools have a lot of interesting electives. That's a huge part of our focus, even though we are small schools, we still have a wide variety of courses to take. We have AP and honors courses. We offer dual credit courses through the University of the Incarnate Word, which is our partner university. And Incarnate Word is also offering a second dual credit program that's going to be launching next year that will be online. But St. Anthony in particular has what's called a pathway program. So that's a really special program that's just for international students. And basically it's going to allow you to just do 1 year in high school at St. Anthony. And you're going to receive conditional acceptance to the university when you arrive for that last year of high school. So you get to do a 1-year program at the high school. You get to have the host family. You get to go to football games. You get to do the full cultural immersion piece and get to do all of that. And then you're going to automatically get accepted to the university and you're going to be able to go straight through. So if you just want like a short experience, but you definitely also want to be able to, you don't want to have to worry too much about college applications, this is a great opportunity. And you're going to kind of get to stay in the same system. So you're going to know what's going on. And you can also earn some college credit during that high school year. So you can potentially save some time in college also. So
that's awesome. Yeah. And for our viewers who maybe missed that, both St. Anthony Catholic High School and Incarnate Word High School, they are partners with the University of the Incarnate Word, which is also in that same area, which is a very well-known university. So that's awesome. So if you're finishing up high school, you haven't gotten to do a year abroad experience yet, you want to study in the US or you want to do your university outside of your home country, this is a great option because you do your final year of high school, you have that conditional admissions, you don't have to stress about the application process to university and worry about all of that stuff. Like it's nice that it's built into that program. Definitely, I imagine is a stress saver for a lot of families.
Yes. And you're also going to get access to additional scholarships if you go that route too. So as an added bonus.
Yeah, seriously. Win, win, win.
Yeah.
And what about students that may need a little bit more assistance with English? Mm-hmm. How do you handle those students?
Yeah, so we do offer ESL at both high schools. So we do ask for an English proficiency score as you're applying. We don't have a minimum cutoff score, but we do want to see where you are, basically. Okay. The only time that it's, and the way that we use it basically is to place you. So if you're coming in for that pathway program, we are going to look more closely at that because you only have 1 year with us. So if you can't speak English at all and you're coming in 12th grade, that's going to be a problem, right? So, but we do offer ESL classes. So when you get here, you'll take a placement with the teacher. She'll kind of evaluate you, see what kind of help you need. And then we'll put you in that ESL class if you need it. And that's built into the regular school day. You're going to get school credit for it. There's no additional fee. You don't have to go after school, any of that stuff. It's going to be part of the regular program.
Awesome. Are there any other requirements to be admitted to the school? Do you need, recommendations, interviews, anything like that?
Yeah, good question. We do need your transcripts, obviously. Need to see your grades. And then we do want one letter of recommendation from someone at your school. So that could be a principal, it could be a counselor, it could be a teacher. And so we'll need that. And then we do normally have an admissions interview, and normally it's with me. So you already know a part of what it's going to look like. And that's really a chance for us to get to know each other and kind of get to know your interests. get a sense of what you want out of this experience. It gives you a chance to ask us questions that maybe you don't want to ask over email or whatever. And so that's a really good chance for us to kind of get to know each other in the admissions process.
Awesome. And students, from my experience, Marissa's not scary to talk to.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be worried about the interview. Don't stress.
Yes, it's a low
right now. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. Well, students, if you are watching this live, I see we do have a few viewers. If you have any questions, feel free to submit them in the comment section, and we may get to those. But Marissa, do you have any final words before we wrap up for students who may be interested in doing high school in the U.S. or in Texas or with you? Any final things to say?
Sure. Yeah. One other thing I'd point out is that, we do have a partner university, but you are not required to go there. You can apply to wherever you'd like. And then the other thing to know is just that in Texas, there are some special benefits. So if you're interested in the warm weather and the rodeo, there's also some additional benefits, which if you go to high school in Texas for at least 3 years, then you're eligible for for in-state tuition at public universities in Texas, which is like University of Texas at Austin, Texas A&M University, some of these big public universities you've probably heard of. And so that's one benefit. And then we also have a top 10% program, which is if you rank in the top 10% of your high school in Texas, then you automatically get admission to the University of Texas at Austin and Texas A&M. So for that, you would just need to, I think you only need to be here for 1 year or two to qualify for the top 10%. And so those are some good incentives if you are wanting to go to school in Texas. If you have your eye on some of these big universities in Texas, it would really benefit you to come to high school in Texas. So
exactly. And that's the thing, you need to be strategic about it. This is something that I think a lot of families don't think about. This is not something that happens in every state. And I know, here in Mexico, it's very common for students to go abroad for 1 year during high school, and they'll do a year. And a lot of times it's just, they pick a place and it's great and it's fun, but there's no, it's not on purpose that they chose that destination. Yeah. It's really nice to know that if you or your child does want to go to university in the U.S., and you are focused on budget and you want to make sure you're getting the best value out of that experience, Texas is a good state to consider. So that's a very great point. I'm going to pull that banner up again. So if anybody missed that, this is a very good point to make. Awesome. All right. So we don't have any questions coming in. So quickly before we wrap up, I'm going to show our students how they can find more information about Incarnate Word High School and St. Anthony Catholic High School on applywave. So real quick, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. All right. So students, in order to find out more information about these high schools that we learned about today, you just go to applywave.com. You can click here on the high school section, and this is where you can type in the name of the institution. So I'll type Incarnate Word High School, and I'll type St. Anthony Catholic High School. So you see both of these high schools here. You can click search. Obviously, remember, Incarnate Word High School is an all-girls school. So if you're not a girl, you don't need to search for that one. But St. Anthony Catholic High School is co-ed. If you want to see more information about the school, you can click on the name. You'll see these pretty pictures where they're at on the map, a nice gallery. And if you want to move forward with the application, you can simply click apply right here. And something important to note, you don't need to be afraid to move forward with this process. Now you know both Marissa and you know me, and we are the people behind the screen who will be assisting you with your process. So if anybody has any further questions or would like to find a time to meet, I know both myself and Marissa are available to help make your dreams come true so you can study high school in Texas.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, Marissa. Well, thank you so much for joining our school spotlight today. I really appreciate it. And I know our students are going to be very excited about these options. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you everyone who joined in. Have a great day.